In the pantheon of global central bankers, India's former Reserve Bank Governor Dr. Vajpayee Reddy occupies a pride of place. In fact, economist Joseph Stiglitz once said that if Dr. Reddy had been the chairman of the Federal Reserve in 2008, instead of Alan Greenspan, the US probably would not have landed in the Lehman crisis. Well, at the moment, the world is in a kind of US-led financial tightening and therefore possibly some crisis. So I have with me Dr. Reddy to understand the global scenario. That's one reason to interview him. But the second big reason to interview him is that his autobiography, Advice and Dissent, is now been published this month in Hindi, titled Vimarsh or Paramarsh. And with that, his memoirs are now available in 5 languages. I'll read them up. Na Gnapakalu, that is my memoirs in Telugu, Binna Abhipraya, Differing Opinions in Kannada, Daivam Chirikunna, God Laughs, that's the translation in Malayalam, and of course the latest Vimarsh or Paramarsh means discussion and consultation, that is in Hindi. Well, Dr. Reddy, thank you very much for giving me your time.
Thank you very much, Lata. You've always been very kind to me. Very pleasant, always cheerful, charming. I can't say anything more than that. Good. Let's start our series.
Okay. No, so, the book is available in 5 languages. Now Hindi. Why Hindi now, sir? Is it because the government is pushing Hindi? The current regime is?
No, let me be frank. I don't think it was timed by me. It was timed by the Oxford University Press, which has undertaken the publication. And I got into an agreement 5 years back.
Okay.
But it took their own time thanks to COVID, Oxford, and all that sort of stuff. Therefore, I am not responsible for the delay.
For the timing.
For the timing. And therefore, I am also not taking any pro-Hindi or anti-Hindi stand. But I do believe that the mother tongue is important. Mother tongue is very important. And that's why I insisted on bringing my book out in Telugu, which is my mother tongue. And I also feel that you may think acquiring knowledge through English, but still you express wisdom, you're wise, only when you think of it in Telugu. I said this earlier also. And
so third, first Telugu, that's why.
Second one was Kannada. Kannada was another thing. In Kannada, what happened is that Professor Sriram, an eminent economist, now what he did was, he read the Telugu book, which he liked it, but at the same time, when the moment English was released, he said, this is better because it has a lot of technical also. We should the Kannada people be deprived of technical also. So he married the two in a way. It's a new product. And again, you can see the title, how it's different. Then comes third, Professor Thomas. Again, a very economics professor, very nice person, thorough gentleman. And he gave a lot more importance to family values. If you read
in the Malayalam version.
Yes, for the Malayalam version. And as you know, if you look at the book and the preface to the book written by all the translators, you will get this. That if I attach more family to family, I attach more importance to family values.
Yes.
And then finally you have the Hindi.
Hindi.
In Hindi also, the preface explains why it's very important. And certainly Hindi is very important for our country. Most important is large population, very large population, Hindi speaking. Second is the age profile. The age profile is a lot more people are younger. So 3, at the moment, there's a lot of interest in share markets. So the Hindi belt is becoming conscious. The whole people are, young people also are coming up for concentrating on finance. They are yearning for knowledge. It's not available in their own language.
Well, since you've given it in many languages, I just wanted to know, what do you want to convey, and are the translations honest to what you are conveying?
Incidentally, I must tell you some of the dilemmas I faced, perhaps, as a biographer, when I write my autobiography. First thing is, how much should I disclose? How much is confidentiality? And what I should keep in mind, just to make it very dramatic or simply analytically. So this is a personal decision I have to take. And sometimes whenever I felt that public interest does not warrant disclosure, we should not warrant. We should not scandalize people unless it serves a public interest. So that's what I thought substantively. Secondly, are we catering to the reader or are we catering to myself? That's where I have to feel like saying something. I want to say something. And therefore I say, then the reader is not in the picture. Otherwise, I think of what the reader may like. So that's again another choice.
Another dilemma.
And third, of course, is that you have got to make a choice between a dialect, as I mentioned. So a lot of choices you have to make, a lot of ethical questions that you have to make. For instance, Arun Jaitley pointed out that when the finance minister spoke to me in 1988, he did not know that I'm going to disclose the public now. Is it moral for me to disclose the public now? These are the issues that come up.
That you have to tackle. I agree with you. So, but, for me, in your advice and dissent, the chapters 11 to 15, where you tackle the 1991 crisis, is the most interesting. The reforms still have a magical quality. Today, since then, do you think we have done anything as dramatic or as paradigm changing as 91?
Let me start disagreeing with your first statement. Okay. 1991 magically is not correct appreciation. Okay. The correct appreciation is 1991 was a decontrol era. Okay. It's not a reform, it's decontrol. Okay. We had a tight control, license control, right? We relaxed the controls. We did not change the law instantly. Most of the law was not changed. Deregulation. Okay. So they used to say, I would not exercise this power. Okay. There are a lot of powers that they are exercising before. Under the deregulated regime, they started saying, I don't want to exercise this. Not exercise. So the regulations, they are dilatory. Whereas after 91, actually during the period of Vajpayee and Yashwant Sinha and Jaswant Singh, real reform took place in terms of institutional change, law, fiscal responsibility legislation, FEMA, all these things have been brought about by this. So in my view, and it's not only my view, Shankaracharya, former chief economic advisor, has written a book on this, where he explains how Yashwant Sinha was the leader of the reform in India. So first, I want to say 1991 is not dramatic, important, politically very important to lose the control. That has been done. That's P. and Manmohan Singh can take credit. But reform is really Manmohan Singh, not Manmohan Singh, but it's Vajpayee. And Yashwant Sinha and Jaswant Singh.
Okay, sir. Well, but 1991 still is a paradigm shift in our memory. Let me bring you to the present, because I think that's what the world wants to hear from you. Like Stiglitz said, the 2008 crisis was because there was loose monetary policy. Now, the US is tightening very dramatically. About 500 basis points of rate hikes in 1 year is unheard of. What do you think may be the repercussions? Do you think it will be recession? And what may be the repercussions for a country like India?
See, we have to view the perspective. See, 1991 reform was of India because of problems in India, which is the rest of the world. Not a global, though technically we ascribe it to this oil crisis. It's not a global in that sense. It's not our reform. Our headache, basically. When it came to 2008, it's not really us in sense, but it's a crisis of financial sector and North Atlantic, basically, not us. So even that is not that big a challenge. But this time it's a very big challenge. Very big challenge because the whole global system is changing. And in fact, the balances between the state and market are changing. The balances between state and market, between public and private enterprise, between national and global, these things are shaking. And the geopolitical situation is tremendously changed. So this sort of a change which is definitely disrupting, but definitely not going to end up easily in any particular solution. Okay. So a huge uncertainty that we're living through. And therefore, I think being nimble-footed is good for our policy. See, better to be cautious than over-optimistic. Don't be adventurous. And we should be careful about telling people that this is a real problem. So I don't think it's appropriate for us to create false impressions. But we should, and people are now quite intelligent, they can understand our position. I think we should really give a balanced view of the challenges. The balanced view is be careful.
Okay. But, we often say that we were the fastest growing economy in 2022 and that even after the slowdown to maybe 6%, we will be the fastest growing economy. There is a bit of self-praise when we describe the Indian economy. You think that is dangerous? Is it well-founded? What are the red flags?
Let me put it this way. It is all by and large truthful. Nobody can say it's not correct. But you have to also make a distinction. India and its people. India and its people. What's the wealth of India? What's the income of people? Oh. So if we recognize people matter for India, not just India by itself, then you have to view it together. And you have to say that this is what India stands for, these are the people. So if you say India GDP growing very fast, then you say, what the per capita income, Bangladesh is growing faster. Okay. So like this, we should keep constantly, at least the readers, and everybody else should keep constantly in mind that things may have to be, you may have to see little more when you read the newspapers, that people put it that way. And therefore, I think things are, certainly I think short term is very bright. Certainly short term is very bright. Because again, we are taking advantage of two situations. One is we are not very well integrated in the globe. And the globe
which will work to our advantage.
Right. So therefore, that's one. And secondly, we were ourselves not very much into any ideological position, either politically or economically. We were just somewhere in the middle, left, right. So in that ambiguous position of non-commitment to any particular ideology, any particular, we're taking advantage. And I must compliment the Prime Minister for taking advantage of this particular neutral position. The uncommitted country is giving him a lot of dividends now.
Oh, yes. Even geopolitically.
Yeah, geopolitically. That's what I mean. So that's why I would say that I think people have to be perhaps far more careful than what they are now about the Indian economy and its prospects. Okay. And the society also, if I put it that.
But we do have twin deficits. So now a budget will come up in less than a month. Do you think fiscal deficit should be a worry? We ran up a deficit because of COVID. Should that be a very important consideration, considering that this year we will end with a near 3% current account deficit also?
See, first, let me start with the current account deficit. See, current account deficit definitely influences the medium-term view. Because it's not the current account deficit which determines the exchange market. The exchange market are determined by capital account. Capital account transactions. So short-term fluctuations are entirely due to. So current account deficit may not be built into day-to-day movements. Current account deficit will be built into structural. Yes. And also the effectiveness of current account deficit in transmission to the exchange is highly diluted because less for us, supply chain, etc. That's one. And therefore what we have a situation is that current account should be a worry when people assess our fundamentals, but not for market volatility. For that I have to look at the capital flows. In the capital flows also, we have slight problems also in capital flows because our reserves have been built out of borrowings basically, and more important, the debt portion and particularly the government portion has been increasing a little large now. Okay. So the composition of capital flows requires a careful watch before we attract any more. But at the moment we are not in danger as far as the current account is concerned. I think I should say that as Rangarajan pointed out in his book, the external sector has been put a firm footing. And virtually we have no, external sector is no longer a constraint for our policy the last 30 years. We can be very proud of. Rangarajan can be very proud. And then you come to the issue
fiscal deficit.
Fiscal deficit, normally, if the current account deficit is not an immediate problem, fiscal deficit also is not an immediate problem. Again, not because we are great, but simply because most of it is funded and domestic bias by savers, and also institutional exploitation, institutional prescriptions. And then finally, household savings are pretty high. Household financial savings are pretty high. This is a redeeming feature, which always existed, which will continue to exist. That's a, but there is a problem still. The problem is that if we stretch it too far, then it could break down. So we have to be very careful in not stretching it too far. So I won't say, I would not worry about fiscal deficit, but I would certainly worry, particularly central government. Because people look at central government basically. The macro analysts may prepare, but markets don't look at totality of the deficit, subnational deficit, plus. No, they're considerable government of India debt, direct and indirect.
No, at the moment it is 6.4% for the current year. And the government has stated its intent to bring it down to 4.5% by 26. That is 200 basis points in 3 years. You think it should be front-loaded, that at least 60-70 basis points of reduction is necessary in FY24? You know, sub 6%, bring it to 5.7 or 5.8?
Can you believe it? If you see history, track record of the government of India, I would be hesitant to believe it till it is proven.
Okay. Okay. But that should be the goal, would you say?
Absolutely, there's no doubt. Stating the goal is okay, but you should not believe yourself that the goal is reachable quickly. See, there are two things. One is what you believe in. Second is what you telling others to convince.
Okay.
This is not necessarily the same.
No, but should they aim for something under 6?
Could be. That could be a question mark. Are you fooling the people too often, too much? If you fool the people too often, too much, markets also will smell it. There is a danger, but I think so far some balance, not so much balance, less than perfect balance, but I think something the government of India is delivering in terms of transparency.
Yes.
But not as much as it's claimed, of course. Certainly not as much as it's claimed. But I would say principle-wise, direction-wise, they are right. The movement is very, very, very slow.
That is true. Okay, sir, I have to take a break. But I want to speak about the banking sector to you. In a minute, after this break, reforms in the banking sector.